If you guys have been around for a while, then you know how much I love my 2001 Turbo Trans Am WS6. I've owned this car for over half my life and I never plan on selling it, but my baby's hurt and she might be hurt real bad. The issue started a few years ago after running the car hard at the track. My oil pressure dropped, and after taking apart the engine, I found glitter in the oil from worn out bearings. At that point, I'd been running the same forged 370 cubic inch LS engine for 5 years at around 1,000 crank horsepower, so it was time for a refresh anyway, and I got right to work. I rebuilt the entire engine and retuned it for even more power, and everything was great until I noticed two issues. The first was an engine oil leak that could be a warped oil pan from welding in an oil return bung, and the second was a puff of smoke from the exhaust only when the car was warmed up, but not warmed up too much. It's very strange. My hope is that it's an issue with the turbo, so I'm using this as an excuse to upgrade it, but it's possible that this is an issue with the heads or even worse, the pistons. Will I be able to fix my TA and upgrade it to be faster and more reliable in this video, or does my practically new forged engine need to come out yet again for repair before the original legit street car can hit the road? Okay, let's get right to work fixing my Turbo Trans Am. Fingers crossed, and I'm gonna go ahead and call this my cart of hopes and dreams, because I hope everything on this cart, well, except the Buick and Cadillac parts, fix my Turbo Trans Am. And we're gonna start off with this gigantic turbo. So we're gonna install it right about there, which means we have to clean. This is a 4-bolt T4 flange. So the exhaust manifolds come together at this flange and the exhaust gases enter the turbo here. And I actually don't use a gasket. I just use high temp RTV that we now need to clean off. Next, we have to temporarily remove this fitting from my brand new GM oil pan. Don't worry, you're going right back. Here's the fitting on the engine, and you can see that's what feeds the old turbocharger with oil. And where we're going, we don't need roads. I mean, we don't need oil. Oh, I missed. Over here. Okay. Oh, that's funny. Since this is temporary, we'll use the old gasket too. So the factory fitting doesn't have any threads and it's not drilled all the way through. This was for some other application. So on this one, in order to run oil to the turbocharger, I just had to drill it out and tap it. But now we're going back to stock. There we go. Now we get to pull this oil line out. This oil line that I had made, about 12, 13 years ago. Goodbye, little buddy. You've done us well. We just don't need you anymore, that's all. And the oil drain hose, we don't need you either, big fella. The oil drain on this car has been the bane of my existence for about 15 years, ever since I went turbo on this car. And today I get rid of it. Okay. There's just a little bit left, that's okay. There goes the oil drain. But temporarily, we'll just have to plug this like so. Oh yeah. We probably don't even need this clamp. We're just moving it over to the rack. And we're definitely cleaning things up under the hood and underneath the car by getting rid of all of these oil lines forever. I promise it'll all make sense once I show you my new self-contained air-cooled turbocharger. And speaking of clean, while we wait for some parts to arrive, let's clean up the TA, because although it's white and it looks pretty clean right now, it's been sitting here for like 4 months. It's not clean. The TA is not actually dirty, it's just dusty, so we'll blow it off. So you guys know I love my Armor Shield Light. This is a very quick ceramic spray, so it's gonna give you a few months of protection and make the paint super hydrophobic. As you guys saw on my Tesla, water just beads right off. If you guys have been around for a while, then you remember the video where I ceramic coated the car and then poured all the blue water all over the hood. That was back in my home garage, and it's been over 4 years since I ceramic coated this car, and it's held up really well. So this is just gonna give it a little bit of a boost, and it works as an excellent quick detailer as well. Oh, and my guys at Avalon King are hooking you guys up with a buy one, get one free for the DIY ceramic coating kit. So this is a $75 value. It's for a very limited time. So I'm gonna leave you the link down below. All you gotta do is click on the link and it will be applied. Buy one, get one free. And then there's a secret deal for the ceramic spray, and they wouldn't tell me what it is. So if you add that to your cart, you're gonna find out exactly what the discount is, and that's for a limited time as well. And in the kit, you're gonna get enough ceramic coating to coat every exterior surface of a medium-sized car. And since you're gonna get another kit for free, you could do another car, or you're gonna need 2 kits if you have a large truck or SUV. You're gonna get some latex gloves. You're also gonna get the applicators that wrap onto the pad. And the process is super simple. After you've cleaned your car, you're simply going to wipe the coating on, wait about 60 seconds, and wipe it off. This is easier than waxing your car, and the protection is gonna last around 2 or 3 years. The ceramic coating is gonna make your exterior very hydrophobic, so water and dirt is gonna bead off, keeping your car cleaner for longer, and it's gonna really bring out that shine in the paint, so your car is gonna look a lot better as well. Take advantage of the deal. Buy one, get one free, $75 offer. You can't beat it. All right, the TA is all cleaned up and ready to hit the streets. Well, not really, it doesn't have a turbo, but this came in, our ultra copper sealant for the turbo. So let's go get that on there. So I don't need to remove the battery to replace the turbocharger, but it does make it a little bit easier, and this battery's gotta go anyway. Before we apply the sealant, we need to make sure that this turbo is clocked properly. So let's do a dry fit of our brand new air-cooled comp turbo. It's definitely a tight fit in here, that's for sure. Okay. So I had them build this to be the exact same dimensions as my last turbo, even though this has larger wheels. And let's see here. So that is where it needs to be on the T4 flange. But as you can see here, our intercooler tube isn't going to reach. No big deal. I have the compressor housing bolts loosened up. Okay, so we can turn it there, kind of just reclock it. It's much better. And then this is gonna fit just fine, just like it used to. Perfect, there's that. Now the downpipe is the trickier side because we don't really have any give with a silicone coupler on that side. So we'll just make sure this guy is lined up where it needs to be. Yep, the turbo's gonna sit right there. Oh yeah, they got this spot on. Spot on, look at that. Whoo! Yeah, it's a direct bolt-on, and I've been working with Comp forever. They started in like 2007. I think I started working with them in 08 or 09, and I actually helped Comp Turbo in California test a turbocharger on a big V8 engine because they were mostly in the import scene. So we probably shipped 4 or 5 turbos back and forth for this very car a long, long time ago, and I measured back pressure for them. I took the car to the dyno. We did a lot of experimentation on spool up, and the final turbo that was on this car up until just a couple months ago when I took it off to send it into them, it was perfect, and it was basically their first design. So lots of improvements since then. This turbo here is capable of up to 1,850 horsepower. Okay, so now that it's clocked, I just need to tighten up all of these bolts around here. I'm just going around with a 3/8 wrench and tightening up all these bolts. They don't need to be crazy torque, just nice and hand tight like that. It works. It's really cool to see the improvements in both of the wheels. So this is the turbine side, the exhaust side. You can see the vanes are kind of scooped. This looks like a bullet, it's super sharp, but look at the billet compressor wheel. And what's most impressive with this turbo is that it's air cooled. So normally you would have oil lines going to the top and bottom, but with this, you have a Zerk fitting, just like if you were greasing a ball joint. And this takes a super high temperature grease that was designed by Comp Turbo. So what's great about a turbo like this is that you can mount it in any orientation you want. Normally you're restricted mostly because of the oil return. It has to be higher up than the oil pan. You have to route that hose perfectly or the oil won't drain back. Mine worked okay, but it wasn't ideal. And then obviously you have to run a feed line. And so the oil gets heated up by the turbocharger. It's gonna increase your engine oil temperatures, and then some turbos use coolant as well, so that's gonna increase the coolant temperature by a little bit. This is completely self-contained like a supercharger. So you can get the grease right from Comp, and then every 3,000 miles, you just pump a little bit of grease in here, and that's it. They say that maybe around 50,000 miles, you should send it in for a minor rebuild, but other than that, there's really not much to do. So my old turbo was an 88-86, and this is a 90-92, so a little bit larger wheels inside of the same housing. ready to go on. So let's go ahead and make us some copper gasket. So I've been running like this for a long time. There's no issue without running a gasket. You can run a steel gasket if you'd like, but a lot of turbo guys just go this route. And we'll just use a little bit around the bolt holes as well. Not my prettiest work in the world. Welcome home, little buddy. There is a good chance this turbo is going to be on this car, potentially for the rest of this car's life. I mean, if it's capable of 1,850 horsepower, like what more am I ever going to need? This engine can't even hold that. Turbo is all bolted in, and now we just have to attach stuff to it so it can bring the air to places that it needs to be, mainly through the intercooler and then the intake manifold, and then into the combustion chambers, you know, boost stuff. Next is our V-band clamp for the downpipe. There we go. Let's bring this into place, and here's the nut for it. Downpipe is on, intake to the intercooler is on. We are getting there, fellas. And gals? What's the female version of fellas? Is it gal? Fellas and gals? Next we have to reinstall our air filter, but I do not like this part here. It's very wobbly and it just comes right off. So I hijacked that exact part off of this cheapo air filter, and if my calculations are correct, this should fit right on here. All right, they were correct. This thing is on there, nice and tight. I like these air filters that have the element here as well, and it's got a little bullet inside. It's kind of cool looking. It's like a little flux capacitor looking thing. I really want a DeLorean, people, okay? I love the movie Back to the Future, and I want a DeLorean. If you guys know of one that has a bad engine, let me know. Drop me an email at LegitStreetCars@gmail.com. I've reinstalled a little plug right there because I do not get my boost reference off the compressor housing. I get it right from the intake manifold going to the 3-bar map sensor and the methanol injection kit. I think that's just a little bit more accurate. So that is plugged up, and now it is time for the last piece of the puzzle in the turbo, and that's the air filter. And we'll give this a little screwdriver click torque. Click, click, click. Oh, she's looking mighty fine. Well, I totally forgot to order up a new turbo blanket. This one's been on and off probably 100 times. It's seen better days, but it's held up really well. So I'll definitely order a new one from Comp Turbo, and I just got off the phone with them, and I'm like, hey, can you get my viewers a discount? And they're like, sure. I'm like, what is it? They're like, I don't know. They're like, just whenever someone orders a turbo, just say you saw it on LegitStreetCars, and they said, quote, they'll hook you up. So I'll leave a link down below, Comp Turbo, they'll hook you up. All right, now our turbo install is complete. Let's get a battery in. And then we're starting up my Turbo Trans Am for the first time in, God, I'm ashamed to say this, like 4 or 5 months. It's been sitting here. I feel bad, but it was winter. I wasn't gonna drive it anyway. All right, we're keeping this GM, all GM, with an AC Delco battery. Although, I'm not exactly sure if that means anything anymore. Is AC Delco still the AC Delco we used to know and love? I don't know. All right, first start. My TA. He's alive! The TA is running beautifully. I topped up the oil because we lost a little. Oil pressure is perfect, and the tune on this car is spot on. It runs just absolutely perfect. No noise from the engine, nothing. Unfortunately, with this car, you can't really hear the turbo if it's not under load. Yeah, you really can't. But driving around, you could definitely hear the turbo. If we go to the back of the car though, this is how it's always been. No smoke, no nothing. It's running a little rich right now because it's that cold startup. But yeah, it could sit for months and there would never be any oil puffing out of the exhaust. Look at that sweet, sweet Lambda right there. Perfect. All right, let's shut her down. The interior is a little disassembled at the moment. We're upgrading the stereo and just kind of doing it whenever I have time. It's not anything super important, but here is a factory like 20,000 mile radio that a subscriber sent me. All the white on the buttons is in perfect condition, but I will be getting my factory stereo back because you guys know that I'm crazy. And you know, I want the radio that for the last 20 years, I'd been pressing all the buttons and that had been with me through thick and thin, through blowing up and through running 9-second passes. The radio was always the same, and I will get it back. All right, let's get this on there. car might be broken right now, but man, do I love it. Oh, and if you guys didn't catch the last Trans Am video, the two main issues we're trying to fix are a little strange. So I'm hoping that the turbo will fix an issue where the car smokes at startup, but it's not at cold startup. The car can sit for literally weeks or months and it doesn't puff any smoke out of the exhaust. So this isn't a normal valve seal issue. Instead, what this does is you have to warm it up all the way, then let it cool off for about 10 minutes, and then start it back up, and then you get this plume of smoke out of the tailpipe that smells like engine oil. You can drive the thing all day long, shut it off for a minute or two, start it up, and it's fine. So it's just this really weird sweet spot in time where it likes to puff smoke. And then the oil leak is very strange as well. I checked the rear main seal, looks to be fine, but it leaks all the way around the oil pan. So you're like, oh, it's just an oil pan, Alex, or a gasket. No, it's not. It's got a brand new gasket. It's all torqued, but this leak started after we welded a fitting in the front of it, and that's coincidentally the only spot that's dry. So I think that warped the pan. So my hopes is turbo and oil pan fixes the car, and then it's got a leaking rack. Anyway, that's what's going on. Let's get into this oil leak. Oh man, the TA's got cobwebs. Jesus, I really did let this thing sit for a while. So here it is. Some of it is from my mess that I made, so it wasn't that bad, but this is pretty accurate right here. It is quite a bad oil leak. And removing one of these oil pans is a kind of a big job because, as you can see here, the transmission gets in the way. So you can't just drop it out. It needs to kind of slide this way. So you can take the transmission out, or you can jack up the engine and lower the K-member. What we're gonna do first, because we gotta replace this anyway, is remove the rack, loosen up the bolts, and just, we'll go from there and see what happens. And then we're gonna clean this kind of, get out of here. TA doesn't deserve that. First things first, we have to remove the wheels. And we have little caps on top of the lug nuts, just to make it look pretty. And these are just plastic. I can't believe they stay on, but they do. All right, my sweet Corvette Y2K wheels are coming off. And a little nostalgic moment. These front Brembo brakes right here off of a CTS-V are the main reason I started my channel. I was always big on the forums showing people what I was doing, and I'm like, why don't I just make a video? Because I lined everything up. I figured out all of the part numbers and everything, and I'm like, I'll just make a video. And that's kind of how this all started. All right, don't make fun of my super crusty control arm. I had these tubular ones on the car, which I hated. They made alignments a huge pain in the butt. But I'd thrown out my original control arms. This is like 15 years ago, so I got these used, and they looked like that. I don't drive this car in the snow. Don't worry. Get out of here, cotter pin. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Forget about it. I will thread this on just a little bit. We're doing new outer tie rods, so we can hammer this. I'm actually surprised this power steering rack has lasted this long. It is the original, but it's been leaking for the last couple of years. I did upgrade to steel braided lines though, so that's kind of nice. Helps route things around all this turbo goodness. This narrowband O2 sensor is getting in our way. Let's move it. I'll pull this out and cap it, and then just tuck it out of the way somewhere. There we go. Oh, I have so much room now. There we go. One line's off. We're gonna lose a little fluid, that's okay. We're gonna lose a lot of fluid once we take the rack out. All right, here's our other line. We'll let these guys drain out for a few minutes. I have the steering column locked, so at this point I can remove the bolt that holds the steering shaft to the rack. All right, this might be a little faster. Steering bolt coming out. Let's just drop it. Okay, where'd it go? Look at that, good catch, lines. You're always there for me. And I always use blue tape if something goes on the bottom. Bottom, blue starts with B, bottom B. That way we know which lines go where for the rack. With the bolt out and the lines disconnected, we just have two bolts holding the rack in. So there's a nut on top, you gotta hold that. Thought it was welded on this subframe, but it's not. There's that pesky nut. And the bolt slides right out. And let's see, 6 years ago, Alex, did you use the same size nut? Yes, you did, good job. There we go. Just gotta shimmy this guy out, almost there. There we go. Lose a little bit more fluid. Piece of cake. The rack boots got destroyed from a previous turbo setup, but yeah, that's not good. We're gonna be fixing that too with the new rack, so that's awesome. All right, rack is out. Let's move on. Let's loosen up some oil pan bolts. Oh, but first, we gotta drain some oil. I put a gigantic K&N oil filter on this thing. From the factory, the oil filter is about half the size. I don't know if this is really needed though, to be honest. I think the oil filter was one of the lowest spots in the car too, which is kind of weird. This car uses 20 W50 weight oil. It's kind of thick. Well, this is kind of sad. This is the last time I'm removing this drain plug from this oil pan. This is the original oil pan. I've done all the oil changes for the last 20 years on this car. And now it's getting a new one. This is it, buddy. I'm saving you, don't worry. Okay, that was a little uneventful. This stuff is so thick, it doesn't just shoot out and it's cold. It's the next day right now, so. That's all she wrote, little buddy. Not bad after 20 years of oil changes. I'll miss you. While that stuff is gooping out of there, let's start prepping this oil pan for removal. Pop out this sensor connector. We have this plastic cover. And we can start to see the converter and flex plate. And there's a possibility we're just gonna straight up remove the transmission to remove this oil pan. I don't know yet. All right, this oil is still going. Let me know in the comments section, what weight oil do you use? Normally the LS calls for a 5W30, but this is a built engine. And with the tolerances of this engine, it calls for 2050. There are some factory M cars that use 20W50 as well. And let me know if there are any other cars that from the factory call for such a thick oil. What's the thickest oil that you've seen as a manufacturer recommendation? Let's start removing some oil pan bolts. See if we get lucky, but I doubt it. The K-member or the transmission probably has to come out. I haven't seen inside this engine in about 6 years, but nothing came out of the oil, so we should be good. But hopefully we don't find anything resting at the bottom. There are 2 transmission bell housing bolts that go right into the oil pan, so we gotta remove those too. All right, Alex was eating his Wheaties that day when he tightened those. Okay, yeah, that's very tight. That one wasn't so tight. There we go. One last bolt, and then this thing will drop down. See how far. Just about that far. That's it. So yeah, here's the problem, people. The transmission's in the way and the K-member's in the way. So the engine needs to go up, the K-member needs to go down, the transmission needs to be removed. Kind of like pick your poison, really. And you know what? My poison is gonna be the removal of the transmission, because although I think the rear main seal is not leaking at all, I really just wanna fix all the leaks on this car. So let's just get the transmission out. It's not that hard, and I'll be able to inspect the rear main seal at that point and remove the oil pan without having to shimmy it all over the place and set up a contraption on the top of the engine to hold it and all sorts of other madness. Transmission removals on rear-wheel drive cars are easy. Watch. First step is disconnecting the battery, and then we can remove the starter. Just 2 bolts on the glorious LS, very easy to do. And then it's just held up with a bungee cord so we're not stretching out the wires. We need the transmission in neutral, so with our shifter linkage disconnected, we can go to neutral. And while we're here, let's just remove the shifter cable. 2 bolts, that's it. We'll put them right back so we don't lose them. With the transmission in neutral, we can spin the drive shaft to gain access to these little fellers, the U-bolt nuts. With the pry bar in place, now we can remove these nuts. With the nuts removed, we can simply remove our U-bolt. There are 2 U-bolts holding this guy on, so here's the second one. Get out, second one. Okay, the second one's totally gonna mess up your video by not coming out, but that's okay. We're gonna improvise. Pop the U-joints out a little. There we go. Now we gotta pop the U-joint out all the way. Just like that, and these caps are gonna wanna fall on you. So tape them up now, or pick up needle bearings later. So we're just gonna wrap this around and just make sure it reaches the top one, just to hold it in, and you're good. That's all you need to do. With the U-joint out, we can pull the drive shaft back. Okay, we didn't lose any trans fluid yet. Yay! Sometimes you're gonna lose a little bit of transmission fluid, but there's no reason to cry over spilled transmission fluid, is what my mom used to say, or was it olive oil or pasta sauce? I don't remember. Now I need to turn the crank, and we're spinning the crank so we can get to these guys right here. Yeah, let's get this in a good position. Right about there, should work. There we go, okay. So you gotta hold the crank when you're doing this. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially trying to break that torque for the first time. So you gotta hold this one and get a good angle on this, but you can do it. And what's nice is after you've broken that initial torque, get some power tools in there. Ooh, look at all the Loctite I used. And these are reusable bolts, so we're good to go there. We have a speed sensor to disconnect here, and the main electrical plug right here, and then just this single wire here. And this is for the activation of the trans brake. And I just dropped a little nut I'm never gonna find again. Okay. I gotcha. That trans brake almost thought it wasn't gonna be activated ever again. Oh, and speaking of that, I do plan on going with a 6-speed manual. This car was originally a 6-speed manual and I put the automatic in it, but I haven't found the right deal yet. And honestly, this automatic transmission is pretty awesome. It's got a 2-step launch control with the trans brake and everything like that. So yeah, I might keep it for a little bit longer. But if you guys know of a good T56, something maybe built up that comes with the pedal assembly, the center console and everything, so I could just swap it out, let me know. LegitStreetCars@gmail.com. It is transmission jack time. We're almost there. We just have a few bell housing bolts, see, one like that. So at this point, we definitely want to support the transmission. And look at the welds in this beautiful custom-built transmission pan. This was to fit our trans brake. With the transmission supported, let's get the cross member out of the way. Center bolt for the trans mount, and then we just have 4 total bolts for the cross member. There we go. Let's go ahead and loosen up some bell housing bolts. Yeah, lots of Wheaties and maybe some protein shakes when I tighten these up. That's nice. All right, the bolts above you really cannot get on camera, but trust me, I'm gonna take them out right now. Hang on, I gotta show you one of these hard ones. So a long extension really helps, and you may not be able to see anything, but if you shine a little bit of light on the situation, you'll see where the bolts are. There's another one up top. And if you've ever wondered what these super long extensions are for, this is it. One of these flexible magnet deals works really well to retrieve the goodies, and you can also install it this way as well. If you thought the extension before was long, this is what I got going on right now. That's gonna be our last one. Totally normal. And if you have a wobble socket that's just a little bit too wobbly, add a little black electrical tape to it. Oh, did I get it? Did I get it? Yeah, I got it. I caught something. I never catch anything fishing. I love fishing, but I'm no good. Don't drip on me, trans fluid. I see you trying to mess up my hair. All right, just coming out like butter. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, we're gonna pull this guy back, and we can go down with her. All right, she coming down. Come on down, little buddy. Come on down. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, we have trans cooler lines still connected. I think I'm gonna leave them, because this guy doesn't have to go very far. Transmission is down and out, and we're just gonna scooch her out of the way, and we don't have to disconnect these transmission cooler lines and lose a bunch of fluid. We have the dipstick plugged up as well. I did lose a little, but no big deal. At this point, we can see the back of the engine, and I used a TCI flex plate. So this is a stronger flex plate, and then I used the ARP Pro bolts. And these are reusable, so we'll go ahead and zip those off. We'll get a good look at that rear main seal. These are held in at 85 foot-pounds with Loctite, so let's see what happens here. That's not happening. Oh, it did it. It did it. Good job. Look at that. This thing is such a beast. No problem. We're gonna go in a crisscross pattern. That's how we're gonna go back together as well. All right, now I can remove this guy just like so. Oh yeah. Yep. This rear main seal is perfect, no leak whatsoever. And that's to be expected. This engine only has maybe 4,000 or 5,000 miles in the last 6 years or so, and I put it together myself. We can see a little bit of oil here, but that's from the oil pan because we dropped it down. And I'm pretty sure it was leaking all the way around. All right, now, let's see if this K-member is gonna get in our way. I just put a couple bolts in here to hold it. And let's see, are we gonna get hung up on the pickup? Probably. Oh, just barely, just barely. Okay, no biggie. Just gotta jack up the engine just a wee bit. All right, we're gonna loosen up these engine mounts now. If your bolt's spinning like this, sometimes you just need a little persuasion. Yeah, it's a long bolt, definitely. There we go. Okay, so now I have the screw jack set up right underneath that engine mount, so we'll just lift this side of the engine and just see if it's enough to get the oil pan out. All right, we'll get a good idea with how much this actually goes up. Go on up, little buddy. There you go. All right, so we're just lifting up the driver's side of the engine just a wee bit. All right, let's just see if that's enough to clear the pickup. Not yet, but it's close. Okay, might just have to do the other side. Who's calling me? Who's calling me? Sam, I can't talk right now, dude. I'm sorry. We got an oil pan to take out. All right, with both engine mount bolts out, I jacked up the engine from this side. And now we have a lot of room. We still have to clear the pickup, but I think we'll be all right. Do a little shimmy. There we go. All right, we did it. Yes, That is very exciting because now we don't have to mess with the K-member, the suspension, any of the lines, all that kind of good stuff. So there's many ways to skin a cat. You don't have to remove the transmission, but I wanted to check out what was going on in there. And now we don't have to drop all of this. Oh wow, look at this. This oil pan is definitely warped. See the light shining through? Yeah, right in this corner here. Which is kind of odd because this is where it wasn't leaking and it's kind of dipped down. And it's all because of this fitting right here. It was TIG welded in last time I did the engine. So this is the only thing I changed on that engine. And it always leaked in this really weird way where it was just basically all around the entire oil pan. It drove me crazy. Brand new gasket, everything was torqued. I even tried loosening it, torquing it again. I ran dye in the engine and it was just always right around here. It wasn't any higher. So this has got to be it. And with the Comp Turbo, we don't need the drain, so it's perfect. Now, normally these LS1 oil pan gaskets are reusable. They're phenomenal gaskets, let me tell you. But I'm not taking any chances, and the new oil pan comes with a new gasket. So what are we talking about here? Now, you do have to glue the corners, which I did last time, so I'll have to clean that up. But then we're going back together with the new pan. Yep, no glitter, no chunks, no nothing. Hey, look at me. You can see my reflection in the 2050. Looks kind of cool. Hello. No glitter or chunks. That is a very good sign. I think the new oil pan is definitely going to fix the oil leak, but we're still up in the air on the puff of smoke. I would definitely suspect turbo first, but this could be some kind of weird expansion and contraction issue with the piston rings. Maybe they didn't seat properly. I don't know. So I'm still nervous about that. Luckily, I got a ton of work left to kind of distract me. Everything is cleaned up. I even dug out the old RTV from these little cracks here. We're going to fill it with some new stuff. But yeah, there's not too much you guys can see on the bottom end, but it is ARP everything. And there you go. You can see the forged pistons. We have forged rods as well. Stock crank, double roller timing chain. This 370 is a very stout engine. And these factory cranks are good for like 1,000, 1,200 horsepower. People go nuts with these. All right, RTV is added to all four corners. We're ready for our new oil pan. New oil pan comes with the gasket riveted into the oil pan, which is huge, all new bolts and everything. And this is right from GM. It was like, I think 140, 150 bucks. Oh, this is so nice. So easy. Well, you know, with the transmission out. We're not gonna torque anything just yet. Let's start them all. These bolts in the back, they're very long. I think the torque spec is like half of what the other ones are. You will break these if you torque them to what these guys go to. Torque spec is 18 foot-pounds for these oil pan bolts. It's actually kind of a lot in the world of oil pans. So those bolts are 18. These are only about 8.5 or 106 inch-pounds. And tighten these up last. All right, we're done. All right, now I can lower the engine back down. There you are. Right back in place. Cool. That's awesome. I'm so glad all we need to do is take the bolts out for the engine mounts. That's not bad. Engine mount bolt. Going back in. I've cleaned up all of the threads back here, so now we can go back together with our flex plate. And remember, an automatic transmission has a flex plate, a manual has a flywheel. But no matter what, make sure all the bolt holes line up like that. Now we're gonna go back together with our ARP flex plate bolts, but first I put a little bit of moly lube on the shoulder of the bolt, and that's gonna reduce friction, so when we're turning this, we can get a proper 85 foot-pounds, but we're also gonna be putting a little bit of Loctite on the threads as well. So I like to hold the bolt down so the two don't mix. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and start this so the Loctite gets into the threads and the moly lube stays on the shoulder. So it's not tight yet, that way we can start all of the rest of them. And the gun is set to its lowest setting as well. With a breaker bar holding our crank, we can give it all the torque. Okay, by all the torque, I mean 85 foot-pounds. Just one stage in a crisscross pattern. That's all you need. With that, our flex plate is reinstalled. It's transmission time. Let's do this. We barely lost any fluid. So that's good. All right, chain is coming off, although it wasn't really on that well. One day I'll have the pneumatic trans jack. Actually, I don't know what they even sound like. All I know is that my right leg muscle is getting pretty thick. Who needs leg day anyway? I gotta angle it around my exhaust. Switching legs. Woo! It's really not that hard. Oh my goodness. Oh, whoops, I don't want that. I want that. All right, we're gonna lose a little bit of transmission fluid here. Okay, stop it. Oh, it's right on my thing. Oh, jeez. There we go. Okay. What? I could have had this here. Okay, dipstick is home. Yeah, just went right in. Right back home. TA transmission knows what's up. All right, gotta finish up the bell housing bolts and we're moving on to converter. We're almost there, guys. We're almost at the point of, well, you know, filling it up with oil and then seeing if it leaks oil and then seeing if it blows puffs of smoke out of the exhaust. So we're not home free yet, but we're getting there. Transmission cross member is going back in. And sometimes it's easier just to start the center bolt into the trans mount. Like so. And then we can just lift it into place with our screw jack. Hello, torque converter. A little Loctite for you. I still find it to be a little crazy that the LS engines only have 3 torque converter bolts. There are 200 horsepower V6 Mercedes that have 6. All right, all 3 torque converter bolts are torqued. We're done here. Well, we need a starter though. Plug this little guy in, install our little cover. Cooking now, looking good. Look at this beautiful factory GM goodness. This reminds me of when I got the car at like 11,000 miles. It's so fresh and clean. A couple of more clickety doodahs and another one here. Drive shaft going back in, and these can spline anyway. There we go. U-bolts going back in. A little bit of Loctite and a lock washer. If you do that, you won't have any problems with your U-joints coming loose. All right, that's done. Now we can go back together with the unmodified pressure port cap. Just a couple of 10s, and this is a steel gasket, and this came right off of our brand new oil pan. We're gonna go with a normal size oil filter this time from AMSOIL. I like to pre-fill these. Not too much. Right there's good. Let's get the shifter bracket back on. Throw this guy back into park. There we go. We're ready for the rack. Okay, get out. There we go. There we go. Get out. There we go. Okay, plugs are out. And since I converted mine to the stainless lines, I have these fittings that we have to swap as well. And we do have some new O-rings, so we'll replace these guys. Numero 2. Click. Click. I got new outer tie rods, but they didn't come with the little lock nuts. So I have to transfer this crusty old nut over. Okay. The thing almost took me out. Jeez. Whew. We'll put these tie rods on last. All right, so I'm gonna try and get the new outer tie rods in the same spot so our alignment's not totally off. I will need an alignment though, but I want to lower this car eventually and just change out the whole suspension. So I don't want to get an alignment now and then have to get another one, you know, shortly after. All right, so I marked on the threads where this nut was. So that should get us pretty close. This crusty, crusty nut that we have to reuse. Not cool. Tie rod and rack company. Neither one of them came with a new nut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where we'll stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now we can screw on our tie rod, and it should be roughly where the old one was. All right, I'll do the same on the other side. It's rack time. Okay, all right. It's rack time, and my back is kind of hurting after all this work. I'm not gonna lie, getting old. Getting old, folks. Get one of these in here to hold it. And only one side gets a bushing. See, that's factory, that's how it is. Okay, cool. Easy peasy. Does easy peasy mean you're getting old? It's kind of an old thing to say, I think. There we go. Little grease for the tie rods. Okay, not too much. You start seeing this guy ballooning out, you've gone too far. Well, I have a ripped glove, so you know we're coming to the end here. Outside of the fluids, we are all done. We're all wrapped up under here. So brand new, beautiful rack, new oil pan. It took kind of a lot of work to do all this, but it needed to be done. Totally worth it on my baby. And yeah, one day we're gonna get some new exhaust. It's a little janky. It's like 20 years of me piecing together different turbo kits and whatnot. But anyway, for now, let's go fill it up with some fluids and go for a ride. And it probably won't, but I'm curious to see if this turbo sounds any different. 2050 weight high zinc going in. This stuff isn't that thick, right? I actually run about 3/4 of a quart over what the manufacturer calls for. A lot of LS guys do, especially turbo guys or guys that are launching their car hard at the track. Just run a little bit extra oil. Doesn't hurt anything. All right, power steering is topped up. I added some transmission fluid as well. I never disconnected the trans lines. I reconnected the rack lines. All the oil stuff's good. We're ready for a first start. The ripped gloves are coming off. Let's start this TA up. Oh, that battery, dude. Okay, never mind on the AC Delco batteries, guys. This thing, I've charged it up. It's just been a pain in the butt. It was dead when I got it. I don't know, could just be a defective battery, but I am returning this guy. Look at that, 10 volts. It's been sitting for 1 day. There we go. Sounds like my TA. Oh, I got a leak. Oh, we got a leak. It looks like power steering fluid. I was a little iffy on those O-rings. I don't know, let's see. Okay, never mind. It's not the lines. It's got a leak right here. Is that a leak though, or is that just remnants from me cleaning? I don't know. Oh, it's engine oil. See that? It's engine oil. I spilled a little. That's what it is. Yep. I don't know why I just literally ate that. It's engine oil. I spilled a little and it's going in the rack boot. Okay, all right, never mind. Disaster averted. The lines are fine. No leak there. Yeah, not that we've run it long, but no leaks anywhere. Okay, let's continue on. Yeah, I can't tell you guys how many first starts after doing an extensive project on this car that I've had. Like 3 or 4 motors, bunch of transmissions, rear ends, turbos. Sounds great. Baby, woo! Oh, we're a little low. Yeah, it sucked it down, that's for sure. We're definitely gonna get a little bit of smoking. Some of the power steering fluid got on the heat wrap. And this thing's got a little bit of an exhaust leak. This is a boost activated cutout right here. It doesn't perfectly seal. But yeah, I think I'm redoing the whole exhaust. We're gonna go 4-inch downpipe and then probably taper it down to a 3.5 or something like that. Look at this beautiful oil pan. No leaks yet, although it takes a little bit of a drive. Just a few miles will do it. We're looking good though. I have an electric cutout from like 18 years ago on here. It doesn't work anymore and it's leaking, so that's gotta go. I mean, yeah. I bought the car when I was 18, all right? Give me a break. It's gone through many, many different versions of itself. Everything's looking good. Let's go for a ride. Well, Lambda's good, but it's not gonna be good for long because we're almost out of fuel. Okay, yeah. Definitely gonna need an alignment. That's pretty off. Oh, I gotta say, the guys at Comp said this turbo was gonna spool quicker than the last one, and just giving it like that little 8th throttle, I could feel it. All right, first fill up of the season. Got to start it off right with the performance improver. Can't see how much the gas is. I don't even want to know. It's back way over $5 a gallon for premium. Oh no. Oh, the battery's dead. Oh, this AC Delco is killing me. I'm waiting for Max to get here with the jumper. Look, are you kidding me right now? AC Delco truck is pulling up. What are the chances of that? You see what's right there?
That's ironic.
Yeah, a little bit. Thanks, man. AC Delco batteries. All you need is a jump pack with you. The steering wheel is straight right now, and yeah, I gotta make a field adjustment. I gotta loosen up this nut right here. We need this to go out. Totally normal, people. Totally normal. Just gotta do an alignment at the gas station. Looking pretty good though. Max saving the day in a 5.0 Mustang. This alignment looks much better than before. No more smoke, everything looks good. Let's cruise. It's a low emissions vehicle, nothing out of the tailpipes either. We're looking good, people. And I didn't fill it up because I'm gonna be converting to E85 soon, so that's enough 93. Oh yeah, oh, this alignment is perfect. Look at that. Woohoo! Oh, this car runs beautifully. Oh yeah, I can roll my windows down. I'm gonna give you a little bit of turbo-y whooshy whoosh. Oh, she handles like a dream. Not really. These handle okay, but you know, to today's standards of handling cars, That was quarter throttle. So here's the thing, this thing is tuned on methanol injection. So over about 7 PSI, it sprays dual nozzles of meth. And it's tuned that way, so I pulled a ton of fuel out. So right now, the meth pump needs to be rebuilt, the tank is empty and all that kind of good stuff. So we're just running on wastegate spring right now, 7 PSI, that's the most. This thing is insane. Guys, the turbo spool up is instant. Oh my gosh. Did I mention it's got no oil lines, no feed, no return, no nothing. It's self-contained. I can't contain myself. Oh, it's a rocket, guys. It is an absolute rocket. Okay, all right guys, so at this point, I'm gonna drive around for about another 10-15 miles and enjoy myself. And then we're gonna go lift it up in the air and see if anything's leaking. And we gotta see if it puffs smoke out of the exhaust, but I think we're gonna be okay. Good, good. Does it get any better, Turbo LS? I don't know. I don't know if it does, I don't know. I shut the car off, of course the battery died, but it's been about 10 minutes, that sweet spot where it would smoke. Oh, we're golden. We're golden. We would have gotten a big puff of smoke at this point. Oh, nothing. Nothing! All right, that is fixed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that is fixed. That is definitely fixed. It would do it every time. I would shut it off, wait 10 minutes, puff of smoke. It was kind of embarrassing. You'd go to a car meet or something, stop at a place real quick, 10, even 15 minutes sometimes, big plume of smoke. It's embarrassing, but that is fixed. Now, how's our oil leak situation? Let's get it back on the rack. I can't wait. I'm going under. I'm going under. How is she? Oh, she's pretty. Oh, guys, you don't know what this means to me. It's been leaking and seeping for so long. It was such a weird problem, and it is fixed, bone dry. Look at this, is beautiful. This is what it should be. So it was a warped oil pan from welding in a fitting. That's all we changed from the last engine, and it immediately started to leak, and it would leak from all around the oil pan. Very strange. So yeah, I guess the lesson here is be careful when you're welding fittings in, it can warp the pan. Other than that, we have a rack that is bone dry. This is a 20-year-old rack that just, you know, basically needed to be replaced at this point. Fresh oil change, our transmission is good to go, everything's perfect. Now, once I put the TA interior back together, it's back in its condition to be cruised, but I do have plans for this thing. You guys know I wanna put a manual transmission back in it. I wanna get rid of the drag racing suspension for something that handles a little bit better. I wanna lower it, I wanna redo the exhaust, possibly some new wheels that are kind of more flush with the car. I'm giving it like a 20-year makeover is basically what I'm calling this. So with that, I hope you guys really enjoyed this Turbo Trans Am WS6 video. We have a ton of boosted LS stuff coming, including my supercharged van. So in the next van video, I'll be announcing the big subscriber meetup where we're gonna fill the van with food and deliver it to people in need. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that one. And if you haven't already, give this video a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at 1 million subscribers. And most importantly, have an awesome day. I'll catch all of you in the next video. If you guys have been around for a while, then you know Trans Am WS6, and I already forgot what I'm saying. This is a T4 turbo flange. Okay. This is a gosh, darn it.
Son of a biscuit.
But speaking of clean, while I wait, shut up, Shocks. What? Stop making noise. Next is our whoa, okay. And if my calculations are complete, correct, not complete. And a little nostalgic moment, and a little nostalgic? Bless me. Oh, you couldn't just be a 17, could ya? Are you a 19? No, you're an 18. I don't know where my 18 is. Oh, it's right in front of me. And we're spinning the crank. Whoa. Okay, almost died. Of a good. And the gun is set to its lowest setting as well. Or reverse, okay.